So you go to the gym, you max out on cable machines, lat pull down, bench press, shoulder press, anything in there you can do. These weights feel easy. You're lifting more than the person next to you and you think you have elite genetics. Because where's all this strength even coming from? Until you do an L-sit and realize you literally can't lift your own body weight off the floor. I mean, who really cares about doing an L-sit? It's useless, right? You've literally been lifting for years and suddenly a no-weight exercise feels unbearable. The reason why a bodyweight exercise feels so much harder is because it's calisthenics, and calisthenics is completely different to weight training. Weightlifting almost always isolates one specific muscle group. For example, curls, your biceps are doing the work, not your legs. Or bench press, your chest is doing the work. Lat pull down, you're literally sitting down while your lats are being the target of this exercise. But an L-sit, your core, legs, arms, triceps, shoulders, glutes, calves, and connective tissue are all being worked simultaneously, and that's probably something you're not used to with weights. All calisthenics exercises involve compound movements that engage multiple muscle groups. But why bother training with just your body weight? If it's harder than weights, then why do it? Calisthenics trains not only your strength, and I'm not talking about the type of strength at the gym lifting heavy things. It trains your body's functional strength, mobility, flexibility, and balance. It's a functional form of training. So how do you train more functionally and get a better L-sit? First, you need to go through 4 things. Number 1 is flexibility, starting in our warm-up, specifically your wrists, hamstrings, and hip flexors. There will be a lot of pressure on your wrists when holding the L-sit. As you know, all calisthenics exercises heavily rely on your wrists and forearms, so make sure to do around the world and wrist rotations for a few seconds until you feel your wrists and forearms loosen up. Next, you have to warm up your hamstrings. Hamstring flexibility is the biggest factor in your L-sit. If you cannot fully extend out and touch the floor yet, don't worry. Take your time to slowly stretch out, going up and down into the stretch. If you feel like your hamstrings are very tight, continue on the ground with bent legs to help make it easier. This can take you a few minutes, but you'll know you're fully warmed up until you can touch the floor with ease. Leg swings and hip openers. These are dynamic stretches to open up your hip flexors. Do these for a few seconds on each leg until you feel super mobile. Okay, we've covered number 1, now we have compression work, which includes hip flexor and core strength. In order to do the L-sit quicker and easier, you need to have strong hip flexors, because your hips are what keeps you up and off the ground for longer, allowing you to hold the L-sit properly. To strengthen your hip flexors, start with leg raises while holding onto a bar, 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps. If leg raises are too hard, start with bent leg raises. You can practice these every few days until you eventually start doing leg raise holds. Leg lifts on the floor is the most beneficial type of compression work, which also builds your core strength. You'll find it slightly more challenging if you're a beginner. Keep your glutes on the floor with a slight lean forward and lift only your legs off the floor in pulses. You can start with single leg lifts or bend your legs to make it easier while keeping your shoulders in line with your hips. Do not rock back and forth and be lazy with this. You can only build strength through challenge, so make sure you prioritize form. Eventually, you can start to move your arms down to increase the compression and start doing holds instead of pulses. You can keep your legs bent for these or straight, depending on your level. Practice these every few days, 15 to 20 reps. Compression work is done, now we have hand placement, specifically what neutral and flat placement is. Since everyone is a different height, the L-sit may feel more comfortable or uncomfortable for some. but this doesn't mean you cannot do it at all. So if you feel like your arms are too short to touch the ground, you need to use parallettes or a heightened platform. The natural position of our hands when relaxed are straight down. Our hands don't naturally sit like this. That's why when you attempt an L-sit and feel like no matter what you do, you cannot hold it, it's because your hands are not used to being flat on the floor while holding a bunch of weight. This is why as a beginner, you feel a lot of pain in your wrists when you start calisthenics in general, and why it's so important to always warm them up. Using parallette bars will feel so much easier as your hands are kept in a neutral position, so as a beginner you can use these to assist you. However, your wrist strength is so important in calisthenics, and I encourage everyone to still practice with hands flat on the ground. If you find it hard getting into the L-sit from the floor, use books instead of parallettes. So you still have that added height. This time there's no neutral hand placement, and your wrists are being worked at the same time. Finally, we have progressions. These will speed your way up to the L-sit and hold it for longer. Do each progression for 4 sets of 10 to 20 reps until full failure. Make sure for all progressions you're not shrugging your shoulders up, they should be shrugged down away from your head. Our first progression is L, sitting up and down off the floor. You don't need to hold the L-sit, just a few seconds or until failure is enough, and that will count for 1 rep. Progression 2 is the tuck hold. Bend both your legs into a tuck position and hold for as long as you can until failure. Progression 3, single leg L-sit holds. Only with one leg extended out, swap each leg and hold for as long as you can. You can go up and into the L-sit from the floor instead of swapping midway while you're still in the air. And if that's too difficult, keep one foot on the floor with your glutes up off the floor with your other leg bent. Hold each variation for as long as you can, until you can hold the single leg L-sit without your feet touching the ground. Progression 4, L-sit walks on the floor. Try and maintain your form during these with your legs straight, glutes off the floor, shoulders down while you walk into the next rep. Your core and hip flexors should be engaged as you move your body forward. Progression 5, lift your glutes off the floor while keeping both feet on the floor. Lean forward and aim for as much height as you can during these, and make sure your shoulders are shrugged down during these. Finishing with your final progression, similar to before, but this time we're doing single leg holds with your glutes off the floor as before, and alternate between both legs, hold for as long as you can. No matter what you do, the only way you can get better at this is by actually doing it.